One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart, steel and a spirit unbroken, he rides on two wheels ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow, he takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. Metal and mayhem will never die. Rituals report he pays his way. More legend in the making, day by day.
Well, well, well. Good morning to the Breakfast Club and everybody, man. Much love and honor, respect. Appreciate every single one of you guys hanging out, tuning in, chilling, max on cushion, some b-ball outside of school. You know what I mean? Much love, honor, respect to everybody. We've got an interesting one this morning. We got a lot in the media going on about Israel this morning. So today we're going to be covering Israel sends massive airstrikes at Hezbollah, and then Israel also is dealing with a ceasefire with Hamas currently. So before we get into it, though, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys hit that like button. It's the #1 metric of all of YouTube. Helps out the show immensely. It's absolutely free to do so. Hit that subscribe button as well if you haven't already done it, and hit that notification bell. Also, check it out, man. Please consider becoming a member on the channel, man. It helps out the Insane Wheels network entirely, definitely. And listen, this is how we are able to do what we're able to do. So thank you guys for deciding to help out the show that way. It goes very, very far. And last but not least, on the monetization aspect, is if you guys don't want to have, YouTube take that brutal 30% cut, we have these down below, and it helps out, obviously. We'll be shouting out all super chats, super stickers, channel memberships, gifted memberships, stuff like that. And then anything that comes down through here, I will read out what you guys put and do that way. I can read your comment that way. So good morning to everybody. Hopefully you guys are all having a good one, man. Also, last call to action. I forgot. Make sure you guys hit my my Instagram up. This is where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my lifestyle, but as well as millennial food time. We got behind the scenes of the actual show and all of that good shit. That's where I correspond with everybody. So direct message me over there. Much appreciated. All right. So let's go ahead and see what you guys are doing up in the chat, man. We got Brother Straight Jacket as well. Good to see you, man. As well as Brother Steve Easy. What's up, my man? Yeah. Hey, I see you. We're drinking some good shit over here, I see. Brother Evil Rick, good to see you, man. As well as Glare. Man, how you guys doing? Tiffany? Shoot, man, it's always good to see all of you guys, man. Hopefully you guys are all having a blessed one. We got Steve up in here as well. Good morning, good morning. Mount High, good to see you, kind sir. Good to see you, Brother Dwayne, as well, man. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us this morning. KP, good to see you. I know I got heavily blocked on my... listen, when I can't even send my own messages on my own platform in the comments, that's when you know it's going to be brutal. And I think everyone is feeling it in the chat right now, low key. So it has nothing to do with us. I think it has to do with every time we start talking on topics like this, what we're dealing with, or for you guys, it may be down below. Yeah, every time we start talking about stuff like this to this degree, man, it just seems like we get suppressed like a motherfucker. Keep in mind, folks, that if you want to start your own channel, you will be highly supported in the Insane Wheels Network. That is a fact, man. Absolutely. If they're a part of the Breakfast Club like that, yeah, of course. Everybody in the Breakfast Club. What's up, Carney Ride? Good to see you. Good to see you as well, Gary. Shoot, man. We got brother Aaron as well, man. Good to see you, man. Hopefully you're having a good one. We got Jess as well. Good to see you, Jess, over there in Down Under, you know? Good morning. Good morning. All right, let's get into this. Barbie, good to see you as well. All right. So the very first thing that we're going to do on this whole ordeal is we're going to go ahead and actually see what CNN is saying about this as of only about 10 minutes ago. So we're going to go ahead and check that out first. And then we're going to go into, from there, we're going to go and actually discuss what Netanyahu is, saying or dealing with. That part is Netanyahu approves Israel-Hezbollah ceasefire deal in principle. So we're going to go ahead and go over that afterwards. And then we're going to go into the news cycle where they're continuing to talk about exactly what we're going to get at right here, right now. So let's go ahead and check this out. Thank you guys for being here, by the way.
In Jerusalem. I mean, there's positivity often before these moments.
Yeah, that shit's crazy. 3 a.m. over there on Wednesday. Meanwhile, it's 10 a.m. Tuesday. Yeah, you're a whole ass day ahead.
More so today than usual.
Yeah,
yes,
that's right, Clover.
I think so. And
you,
also
man.
the military tempo is up. More than 30 strikes against Hezbollah targets, both in the south of Lebanon, in the southern suburbs of Beirut, in the center of Beirut as well. The one in the center of Beirut, as we understand at the moment, one of those no warning strikes, possibly an effort.
Yeah, Pitbull. I appreciate you over there in England, my man. Thank you.
By the IDF to assassinate a senior Hezbollah official. That's not clear at this time. But the tempo up.
Brother Joseph, stop the cap, yo. Stop the cap.
Stop the cap.
What's up, my man? How you doing?
Coming the other way as well. Kiryat Shimona in the north of Israel, one of those large towns, more than 20,000 people, where
It's
the
time
population
already.
have been evacuated since October last year. One of the towns, obviously, where the Israeli government, if they get this ceasefire deal, will allow people to go back to. That hit by strikes coming from Hezbollah today. So the military tempo is up. But you're absolutely right. The sort of diplomatic drumbeat in the background is very much there, coming from the Prime Minister's office here. We know that there are hard right-wingers in the Prime Minister's government.
Shit. Don't be capping for everybody over here. Don't be capping like that. Stop the cap, yo.
Stop the cap.
Yeah, that's real cap.
Itmar
100%
Ben
cap.
Gvir, the national security minister, who said that his advice to the prime minister is don't go for a deal, continue against Hezbollah was his instructions to the prime minister. But the prime minister's office confident, and I think what
The patty room. I like how you just wrote that. You mean the padded room? Yeah. Straight. You been drinking this morning? What's up? We got Pitbull over there sending over 2 pounds, man. I appreciate that. I like pounds. All right. I like that shit. Pitbull, thank you so much, brother. I very much appreciate that. Goes very far, man. Thank you. All this shit adds up. Thank you.
we're beginning to get a sense of is not just the concerns and what the Israeli government wants to achieve out of this, but how it will actually happen. The defense minister here saying that that it cannot be a situation like it was before. Israel will strike back at any threat as soon as it sees it, adding that the UN, who, as we understand from the ceasefire deal, how it looks as we expect it to be, would be filling the military vacuum when the Hezbollah and the IDF pull back from that area. The UN would be part of the force there, saying that the UN must be up to doing that task. And from the Lebanese foreign minister at the G7 there in Rome, we're getting details of how the Lebanese army will be reinforced in that border zone. 5,000 Lebanese army troops there already. He said an additional 5,000 coming in. So it's not a done deal yet. The vote's coming. There's the confidence, and we're beginning.
Yeah, we'll get the vote, and we'll probably even get to the vote, maybe even during this live stream,
to get a shape of what it may look like, Max.
And there is opposition within the Israeli cabinet, where the feeling is that Hezbollah should be completely destroyed before any ceasefire.
Yeah, and the question for the Prime Minister has been meeting with his coalition parties earlier on today, Itmar Ben-Gvir being one of those ministers who is a very powerful voice.
No shit. Absolutely.
One of, as we understand, 11 votes.
Real quick, we got to do a nice little, like, halt on the show. We got my man over there. Appreciate you for another £2, man. He said, I sent you an England coin collection. I send you a England coin collection. Yeah. I love being able to get no one else here. Well, not everyone else, but majority of people here cannot send some pounds to me over here. Listen, W. I appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much for that, kind sir. Thank you.
Comes down to it, a simple majority carries the day. Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister, hard right as well, follows pretty much where Ben-Gvir goes in terms of, his position on Hezbollah has been
in 2 hours. Okay. Shit. Well, I'm guessing what I'll do then is probably do a whole separate stream on that. I may even do that. I may even run a second stream.
Defeat them while they can be defeated while they're weak.
And
so
cover it
those
live.
are 2 votes that appear, at least right now, to be going against the Prime Minister. But he only needs 6. He only needs 6 to win. He can lose 5 votes. Obviously, he wants.
By the way, good morning, Dean. Hopefully, you're having a good one so far.
As strong a mandate as possible. So
it's not. Someone say coins. Well, we got Mr. Boulay, the Alabama's finest. Come on, my man. Appreciate you for being here. If you guys don't already know, Mr. Boulay is a literal, like, he's in the actual coin industry and like the precious metals and gold and stuff like that. Yeah. His shit is serious. Serious.
It's not a
over there and subscribe to him, man.
And the voices, I think, are,
What's up, Danny?
There's some nobody knows the details publicly. I mean, that's the bottom line here. So we don't quite know the precise nature of the concerns, but we do know that the people in opposition are saying that the deal must enshrine Israel's ability to be able to strike back.
Of course.
The more hawkish are saying it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that goes without saying in a ceasefire, right? That goes without saying. If we do a deal and we say, okay, we're doing ceasefire. Yeah, if the other side starts fucking us back up, yeah, we're gonna fuck you up too. I mean, I don't understand.
Stupid.
I don't understand this shit sometimes.
Really should continue the war while it's got Hezbollah on the run. And I was speaking last night with somebody who lives just a mile from the border in that evacuated zone in the north of Israel. And he said, look, up here, we all feel really sold out by the Israeli government. He said, we don't think we're getting anything different here other than the 2006 deal. That was UN Security Council Resolution 1701.
Oh, shit. Come on, my man. That definitely unnecessary, kind sir. Thank you so much for this, though. Mr. Boulay sends in a 10 gold super chat saying, thanks, my brother, for the shout out. No, thank you for everything, my man. You're a good dude for real. And you got a lot of knowledge. Sincerely. I've really enjoyed the conversations. Like, for instance, we had on with Grid about the gold standard and how it, believe it or not, like I even thought going back to the gold standard would be better, but I was proven wrong in that aspect.
Where after the war in 2006, there was a pause. Hezbollah had been pushed back. But as he said, they came back. And he said, we don't see anything different this time.
Yeah, we know you don't even know what pants are. That's why you're Pantsgate,
That's going to stop Hezbollah coming back. Lebanese army isn't strong. UN wasn't able to do it before. So he feels that the government here is really, he's calling this a surrender at the moment. Pretty strong language. But he says a lot of others who live where he does, they feel the same, Max.
That was on Grid One Motorsports, Blair.
Okay, Nick, back with you as we get an update from that crucial cabinet meeting. Thank you.
With us now is retired Air Force Colonel and CNN military analyst Cedric Layton. Colonel, great to see you.
Pitbull sending in another shit. Pitbull says for £2 saying cash and notes will be in a frame from myself. Hey, man. Thank you. Thank you, kind sir. Man, look at that. If you send in 6 British pounds, right? That's what it would be considered, right? That's like $20 here. No, I'm just kidding. But it is a little bit more than our money over here. So
People can get a sense of what's been taking place in Lebanon over the last several months here.
The boxers.
You can see this area in red is where Israel has made ground incursions over the border to root out the Hezbollah militia groups. The areas in yellow here are areas where Israel has called for evacuation so they can carry out airstrikes.
Good to see you, Martin. Good to see you guys. So check this out. What they're reporting on CNN right here is actually really interesting. Basically, these are the reported Israeli operations in Lebanon, and it does show the different like evacuation zones and assessed at where they're advancing. You can see where they're moving, which is a very interesting map here.
So talk to us about a ceasefire deal. Why do you think Israel would agree to this now?
Good morning,
what have they
Papa.
achieved in Lebanon?
Oh, shit. I'm surprised that went through, by the way, because we're getting heavily suppressed this morning.
Morning, John. Yeah, the main thing is that they think that they achieved enough of their military objectives to agree to a ceasefire deal. So basically, the area that you were pointing out is the area that is south of the Litani River. That is basically the borderline between southern Lebanon and basically serves as a buffer zone between Hezbollah forces and the Israelis. Now, what the Israelis want to do is they want to bring their 70,000 or so people that live in northern Israel back into northern Israel. Those people have evacuated their homes, and it's very much in the interests of the Israelis to bring them back to make that region economically viable, or at least attempt to make it economically viable again. As far as Hezbollah is concerned, they've basically been decimated. We had the pager attacks, and
he's not even lying. He's not even lying about that.
Efforts by the Israelis to go through every single layer of command that Hezbollah has, and to include killing the leader of Hezbollah. So when you go into all of the details here, the Israelis have achieved a considerable portion of their military objectives. And if they push Hezbollah back,
Huggy up in the building, gifting out a membership out to one of you guys out there, man. Thank you. I very much appreciate that, kind sir. Thank you very much. Who did it go to?
Litani River. They believe that that will at least give them the breathing space that they need in order to make that region, northern Israel, one that they can consider safe and relatively secure.
And just to be clear, Hezbollah negotiating here at a position of weakness, correct?
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
1000%.
And that's really part of the Israeli effort. They've been able to make this, make Hezbollah very much.
Bro, we got like 15,000 fish in that lake total. Yeah. We got the shits.
He can force, and that also means that because Hezbollah is a proxy of
holy shit. Damn. Homie just got paid or something. Dude, thank you so much. Appreciate you, kind sir. Thank you for that. Sincerely. Thank you, kind sir.
Iranians, that Iran's position against Israel is also a much more weakened position than it was just a few months ago.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit more about that. If there is some kind of a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hezbollah, which again operates inside Lebanon, what would that mean for the region? And what would it mean, or could it mean, for Israel's continued war against Hamas in Gaza?
Yes. So as far as the region is concerned, just before the October 7 attacks from Hamas against Israel from Gaza, there were efforts between Israel and Saudi Arabia to achieve a comprehensive peace settlement. Saudi Arabia is not going to agree to a peace settlement unless there's a deal with Hezbollah and unless there's a deal with Hamas. So this is basically the first stage for the Israelis to try to get back on track that way.
So Saudi Arabia will totally do basically an agreement, but there has to be an agreement with Israel and Hezbollah, and Israel and Hamas. So that's crazy. And by the way, Mr. Boulay, sheesh, man, coming in hot. Man, thank you for this very much. The gold, we call it the gold, not the yellow super chat anymore. We call it the gold super chat, especially for Mr. Boulay. For the record, don't subscribe to Clover Tack YouTube channel. Don't check out his content. It's full of Second Amendment topics, news, and product reviews. By the way, friends, don't Don't friends buy high points? Yeah, that's right. Friends don't friends buy high points. Is that what you mean? Sub to his channel, my man. Sub to CT's channel, he said. That's brutal. So he's saying, do not subscribe to Clover Tack, but go over to Chaotic Truth, go to CT's channel and subscribe to him. Yo.
Stop the cap. Stupid.
Oh my God. Yo, thank you, by the way. W, my man. Thank you for that. And you got me tongue twisted because I'm illiterate as fuck sometimes. Thank you, kind sir.
In other words, have that track toward a peace settlement with Saudi Arabia and basically other countries in the region. So this is, in essence, an extension of the Abraham Accords that were done during the first Trump administration. Now, as far as Iran is concerned, they are...
Exactly. Friends don't let friends buy high points. That's what you were getting at.
Definitely.
That's hilarious.
Looking at this from a different perspective with their fairly recently inaugurated president, they are looking at a very different way to try to engage with not only Israel, but also with the United States. Now, whether we or the Israelis take them up on that is, of course, a completely different...
You know what I've noticed on the super chats? This is what I've noticed, is that when you're typing in the super chat, it'll actually, like, the spelling doesn't go anywhere close to, like, it'll just start doing its own thing. You'll be typing and it'll space by itself and shit. You'll have, like, weird... I think it's actually a software issue. I don't think it was even you, the way that you type. I think that it just corrects itself and just starts typing. I've noticed that every single time. Every time I do a super chat, it's like I have to rewrite it like 7 times. Yeah, super chats are hard to type. I don't understand that. I thought that was maybe only me, but I think that's a common thing because people send in like super chats that normally their grammar's really good, but then it'll come up all fucked up. Yeah, so it is what it is, Aim. I appreciate it.
Question. But it seems as if the Iranians are starting to begin a bit of a policy of, in essence, making things a bit more of a detente-like situation than was the case just in the last few months.
Look,
yeah, isn't that weird? Fucking interesting. Totally interesting. All right, let's go ahead and move on over because they had just finished up on that end over there. But I am interested to see what Fox has got to say about the Netanyahu, approves of the Israel-Hezbollah ceasefire deal in principle. That's literally what it states. So let's go ahead and go over to there real quick. Boom. And it's a 3.5 minute clip or whatever, 3 minutes and 40 seconds. And then we're going to go into the main news cycle and we'll see kind of what's happening actively right now on the attack that Israel did to Hezbollah like just a couple hours ago.
The Israeli cabinet is set to vote on a ceasefire deal with Hezbollah today after Prime Minister Netanyahu reportedly approves the deal in principle.
Israeli officials telling the New York Times, quote, a key sticking point has been Mr. Netanyahu's insistence on securing some assurance that Israel could restart the fighting if Hezbollah broke the truce.
Mike Huckabee has been appointed as the U.S. ambassador to Israel by President-elect Trump, and he joins us now. Governor, good morning to you. So if this deal is signed, the proposed ceasefire would reportedly include a 60-day pause in fighting, Israeli forces withdrawing from Lebanon, Hezbollah retreating, and Lebanon's army creating a buffer along the...
Oh, right there. This is what the proposed deal is, okay? 60-day pause. Israeli forces withdraw from Lebanon. That's a big deal. Hezbollah has to retreat, and Lebanon's army creates a buffer along the border. Damn. And Netanyahu approved of this.
The Israeli border. So what do you think about this? And if signed, what does this mean for Israel moving forward?
Well, let me be clear. I'm not speaking for the president, President Trump, or the administration.
That's
I've
right,
got to
Charles.
get confirmed in order to be the ambassador. So I've got to issue that disclaimer. But it's certainly good news. Good news for people in Lebanon. Great news for the people of Israel who have had to relocate from their homes. 100,000 families who can't live in their communities and neighborhoods because of the constant missiles and bombs and rockets that are pelting upon them. So this would be wonderful if it...
I don't get it. I could say hi to somebody and it get blocked. But then this shit goes through. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Holds.
Unreal.
But the problem is that Hezbollah and its Iranian-backed proxies like Hamas and the Houthis, they've never kept an agreement. So I think the prime minister's doing.
Ooh. You hear that shit?
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Yeah, he wasn't playing around with that.
Hezbollah and its Iranian-backed proxies like Hamas and the Houthis, they've never kept an agreement. So I think the prime minister's doing the right thing.
He's right.
By trying to say, let's.
Yeah, it's a huge issue. Never being able to keep an agreement. Yeah, let's see how far it goes. But I mean, we want agreements to be made, but I really hope that both sides hold to it.
Let's see if we can get a way that you quit bombing us and throwing missiles and rockets at us. But I also think he's very smart to retain the right to restart the fighting if Hezbollah breaks the truce.
So New York Times is reporting that Iranian leadership is encouraging Hezbollah to accept a ceasefire deal because Iran is worried that continued fighting by Israel would degrade Hezbollah's capabilities even further. So that means that Israel has the upper hand right now.
Yep. As Dean in Israel right here says, ceasefires are always broken. It's nonstop.
Right now, and Iran is worried.
And they ought to be worried. They know what happened when Donald Trump was in office before. The maximum pressure that he put on the Iranian government
Mindy.
pretty well bankrupted them. And that's what made it so difficult for them to move forward. Joe Biden came in, took his foot off the gas or off the brake, put it on the gas. And the next thing you know, the Iranians are flush with money. What do they do with it? They gave it to a Hamas.
What do you, like, if they'll never get along ever, it's like, what do you do? You know what I mean? Like, what do you do at that point? You just continue to fucking just have a war nonstop? Eight front war? Like, what do you do?
Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, and they started killing innocent civilians. So, yes, they're worried. They ought to be. And let's hope that when President Trump is inaugurated, one of the first things he does is reinstate that maximum pressure and make it clear that it's not just for Israel, it's for all of the Middle East to have a peaceful existence, which cannot happen as long as the Iranians keep threatening
What's up, Brother
to wipe
Lee?
every Jew off the
Good morning, kind sir. Hopefully you're having a good morning.
face of the earth. And then their promise is to come after us in the U.S. Let's not take that lightly. Let's believe what they say.
Yeah, that's right. And now the International Criminal Court, when it comes to Benjamin Netanyahu, has a warrant out for Netanyahu's arrest. We have to leave it there. But I was talking to somebody about this with some inside information saying that was Netanyahu's biggest fear because now it makes it very difficult for him to travel. So a lot going on. Hopefully this ceasefire deal does happen with Israel having the upper hand and turning on the fighting if things go south. Governor Huckabee, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was nothing wrong with what she just said at the very end right there. Yeah, there was nothing wrong with what she just said. Absolutely. If they, I hope the agreement goes through, but if things go south, light them up, she said, you know what I mean? That was in, me condensing it down for you guys and me reading through. All right. So here is live now from Fox. All right, everybody. This is the actual news cycle that's happening live right now. We're going to go ahead and bring it back. This is only 2 hours ago. This was live 2 hours ago, essentially. Now they're live still this moment doing some other stuff, but in this live stream, there's some crazy stuff going on that you guys are going to see what the title of this is. We're going to bring it back over to Israel sends massive airstrikes at Hezbollah. So here we go, everybody. Hit that like button, y'all. Thank you, guys.
Here on Live Now from Fox, the time 8:18 on the East Coast and 5:18 on the West Coast. You are looking at a live image coming in out of Beirut, Lebanon, not far from the Israel border. As you can see, the smoke
Good morning, Brother
rising
Anson.
there, and a
Hopefully you're
lot
doing
of it,
good, my man.
we know that the situation continues between Israel and Hezbollah. So likely more strikes that are taking place at this hour. A lot of smoke. As I mentioned, we're going to work to gather some more details about exactly what is going on. But again, we've seen these strikes happening near daily over the past several weeks and really months.
Damn,
now,
SNS.
Israel's security cabinet.
I think it was yesterday SNS told me that he was trying to like get into the live chat and there was no live chat for him. Like that's fucked up. What the hell's been going on?
Is expected to meet later today and approve a 60-day ceasefire with the Hezbollah terror group in Lebanon. The Times of Israel reporting the details, saying Israel is accepting a pause in the fighting, but not an end to the war on Hezbollah. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
You guys just heard that. Let me go ahead and bring that back just in case you guys didn't hear that.
Times of Israel reporting the details, saying Israel is accepting a pause in the fighting, but not an end to the war on Hezbollah.
Right. So they're going to accept the pause, but this is not a end of the war. That's what they wanted to make clear. This is not. We're not ending this shit. We're not doing none of that. We're just ceasefire. Yeah, I understand. They're doing
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will likely convene the council at some point in the coming hours to take that vote. Lebanese Hezbollah has been launching near-daily attacks on Israeli communities and military posts along the border since the day after the October 7th attack by Hamas on Israel that sparked the war over in Gaza.
That is so funny, Bob. What the hell, dude? Hey, I appreciate you, my man.
Hezbollah says its actions have been to show support for the people of Gaza as that war does continue. Want to send it over to Alex Hogan. She is on the ground over in Tel Aviv following the latest for us.
Okay, on the ground.
Israeli airstrikes rocking Beirut Monday, one day after Israeli airstrikes rocking Beirut Monday.
That's insane.
Israeli airstrikes rocking Beirut Monday, one day after Hezbollah carried out its heaviest day of bombardment on Israel in weeks, launching more than 250 rockets and missiles toward Israel Sunday. While smoke marks city skylines.
Yeah, but Israel stated that it was 500.
Across the neighboring countries, diplomatic progress to broker a ceasefire is underway.
We continue to work to try and get an agreement over the line, and we're hopeful we can get one, but we need both of the parties to get to yes.
Lebanon's deputy speaker of parliament today told Reuters that there are no serious obstacles left. Israel touting progress too.
We haven't finalized it, but we are moving forward. I assume that the cabinet will meet today or tomorrow to discuss it.
The ceasefire would include a 60-day pause in fighting, the withdrawal of Israeli forces from Lebanon, Hezbollah retreating from the southern border of Lebanon, and Lebanon.
Yeah, that's the same thing that we saw on CNN.
Lebanon's army creating a buffer along the border with UN peacekeeping workers. Certain sticking points have held up talks, like Israel wanting more guarantees to make sure.
Was it CNN or was it the last? It may have been Fox that said that.
Hezbollah's weapons are removed from the border and wanting to be able to strike Hezbollah sites in Lebanon if they believe the militant group.
Oh man, we got Brother Papa that's quitting on it. He's getting squashed by YouTube, so he's accepting defeat today. Feels ultra bad, dude.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Emotional damage.
See you in a little bit, homie. Appreciate you.
Group is going to violate the agreement.
Israel suspects that the Lebanese army will also fail, and that to keep the Hezbollah fighters out. That is why Israel wants to be able to go back in there as part of the deal.
Washington sent U.S. Special Envoy Amos Hochstein to hammer out details last week. NSC spokesperson telling Fox, "We continue to work to reach a diplomatic resolution to allow civilians on both sides of the blue line to be able to safely return to their homes."
Yeah. Totally ironic. Oxymoron.
In Tel Aviv, Israel, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
And I do want to take you back out to this live image that we have over Beirut, Lebanon.
Look at
As
that.
of right now.
That was live just 2 hours ago. This is what the landscape was in Lebanon.
We just received an update
In
coming
Beirut,
in.
right?
This is from WhatsApp, and it is from the Israel Defense Forces. It says the IDF saying an initial report. The IDF is currently conducting strikes, and this is happening on Hezbollah terror targets in the area of Beirut. So much to discuss here. So I do want to bring in a guest, friend of the show. We have David Dowd.
Oh, we
senior
got Brother
fellow with
Chris
the
Strange up
Foundation.
in here. And I was wondering who you were. I must have missed this comment. What's up, my man? Good evening for you, I guess. Or maybe like early evening, late afternoon over there in South Africa, my man. Appreciate you always.
For defense of
Good to see you,
democracies,
man.
focusing there on Hezbollah and Lebanon as this potential ceasefire deal could be approved here shortly. David, thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thank you, Josh. It's always a pleasure.
So first off, David, I do want to ask, what do we know overall about the potential for this ceasefire, the deal itself? Because it does sound as though we're hearing that it's not likely this ends the war altogether. It's just a
Damn. Clover Tax said YouTube does tend to censor fucking losers. So I completely understand how this chat can have so much trouble with that. Shots motherfucking fired, dog.
Oh, shit.
Boom, 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 boom. You know? Shit.
temporary situation.
Oh, no. You're gonna
Well,
chat,
it depends. Are
you guys
saying,
gonna let him talk to you like that? Chat, you gonna allow that? That's crazy.
will the deal be approved by the cabinet? That's under discussion right now. It seems
You don't
like
have to take
Prime
that.
Minister Netanyahu has a little bit of an uphill battle
What's up,
convincing
brother?
the more
Shadow?
right-wing members of his coalition
Shit.
to agree
morning,
to
my
the deal
man.
because this doesn't satisfy really Israel's security needs. There's also some noise from within the Likud party itself. Now, the issue is whether the 60-day trial period, so to speak, will remain permanent.
Who is this guy? Did they do an introduction?
David, thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to be here with us today.
Okay, David, but who's David, dude?
Hezbollah and Lebanon as this potential ceasefire deal could be approved here shortly. David, thank you so much, as always, for
Oh, man, I wish I would have had more of an introduction there. All right.
this ceasefire, the deal itself, because it does sound as though we're hearing that it's not likely this ends the war altogether. It's just a temporary situation.
Yeah, it's
well, it depends.
They're definitely saying, listen. Don't get this twisted. This ain't not the end of this shit. This definitely ain't the end. We're not saying, hey, we're done. No. We're agreeing to a pause.
Are you saying will the deal be approved by the cabinet? That's under discussion right now. It seems like Prime Minister Netanyahu has a little bit of an uphill battle convincing the more right-wing members of his coalition to agree to the deal because this doesn't satisfy really Israel's security needs. There's also some
Well, the border, definitely on the border with the Lebanese. I mean, I understand, but the Lebanese army, dude, you gonna trust the Lebanese army? Hell no. Hezbollah probably tells them motherfuckers what to do. You know, so like, yeah, they probably don't want that. But hey,
noise from within the Likud party itself. Now, the issue is whether the 60-day trial period, so to speak, will remain permanent. To me, I look at this and I think it's very difficult to
I know a lot of
restart
people that
war
break
after
that rule.
60 days of cessation of hostilities, especially when Israel is being led by a prime minister whose legitimacy has been battered not just by the events of October 7th, but by the year prior. How is the Israeli public going to trust this man to take them back into a war after 60 days of quiet when Hezbollah will have taken that time to reposition themselves, to strengthen their defenses?
Oh,
meaning it'll be
I now know what you're referring. I thought you meant tree, like left-handed tobacco. That's what I thought you were saying. And now I have full context of what the fuck you guys are saying. Oh
more
shit.
difficult conflict.
Oh
I
shit.
think it'll be very complicated to restart the war, irrespective of
That's
what's
funny.
on paper.
What's up, GEG?
And it does sound
morning,
as
my
though
man.
there's already concerns, without this even being approved just yet, there's already concerns that Hezbollah would violate the terms.
Well, the terms aren't strong enough to prevent Hezbollah from regenerating or violating the terms. A lot of this depends, kind of the guarantees of preventing Hezbollah's regeneration depends on the Lebanese government controlling its borders, having oversight over weapons production and importation to the country. Well, Lebanon already has that by international law, by virtue of being a sovereign state, and it's done nothing. So depending upon Lebanon again is not necessarily a solution. Now,
Yep, it's been all morning, Redneck side. It's been all morning. When I get blocked on my own channel, that's when you know, like, okay, we're fucked.
There's this whole idea of this oversight committee that's supposed to monitor Lebanon's activities. But again, what are they supposed to do besides monitor and report?
You're right, Martin.
Now, there's this separate letter of assurance that the United States is supposed to be giving Israel, which is being alleged to permit Israeli freedom of action, but it really doesn't quite do that. It allows Israel to act in the case of immediate threat, but Israel's already permitted to act in the case of immediate threat, meaning a rocket's about to be fired at Israel, something of that nature. In the case of non-immediate threats, Israel has to go through this oversight committee, which includes France, which has run cover for Lebanon's inactivity in the past, and get approval before being allowed to operate. Again, that is not exactly Israeli freedom of activity.
I do want to talk, and you and I have discussed this in the past, but a lot of people do have questions or misinformation out there. So I want to clarify, what do the Lebanese people, the people there in Lebanon, civilians, how do they feel about the Hezbollah terror group there? Are they aligned with them overall, or do they disagree with them?
Oh, shit. Good
I
question.
think it depends. To speak of a Lebanese people in any unified fashion is very complicated. The country is broken down into sects, some with a lot of mutual aversion. And even within those sects, you have a lot of disagreement. The Maronites aren't united. The Shiites aren't united. The Druze aren't united. But what we can go off.
I don't know if I'm big enough to be like watched on like that. I think that would be a little bit of a conspiracy, but I definitely think that they use AI to basically scan topics, and certain topics are going to get a little bit more suppressed than other topics. And that's what I truly think happens. I think it's an AI system that does all of that scans what your title is. I mean, there's times that the second that I end the stream, I'll be demonetized on that video. But if I change the title's name, the title, it goes to where I can make money on it again. Isn't that like instantaneously? You know, you don't have to like send that in as a report. It just does that. So it's very, very interesting how the AI system works.
As numbers in polling. And so in May of 2022, Hezbollah won 356,000 votes in the parliamentary elections. This was the highest number of votes that any party received by 150,000, right? And this is out of a voter turnout of 1.8 million, out of a country of 4.5 million people total. That's a sizable number. In January of 2024,
that's right, Redneck.
A Winnet poll, Washington Institute poll, found that something like 89% of Lebanese Shiites strongly support Hezbollah. 93% support Hezbollah to some degree. And an Arab barometer poll.
What's up, Pablo? Good morning, my man.
Found that 85% of Shiites support Hezbollah. So and let's
Damn,
remember.
Did you hear that number? That are in support of Hezbollah.
85% of
85%
support
of Shiites. Damn.
Hezbollah. So and let's remember that Shiites are Lebanon hasn't had a census since 1932. But as far as we know, Lebanon's Shiites are most likely Lebanon's largest demographic and definitely its largest growing demographic. So Hezbollah's support in Lebanon, even if they just have the Shiites, is not negligible.
Does the ceasefire possibly allow Israel to focus its efforts, its weaponry, things of that nature, the troops on other areas, including Hamas there in Gaza?
In theory, it does.
Overtax.
Reports that the Biden
Turn the stew
administration
over
is
here.
sending Brett McGurk to Saudi Arabia today to potentially have a spin-off deal that also ends the fighting in Gaza. If you ask me, you've asked me throughout this conflict, what's one thing I would say what's one thing I would leave your viewers with? It's always focus on the North. That remains the case.
Oh, shit. Man, that's way unacceptable. We got to do a halt. Yo, we got 40 of you guys in here, only 29 likes right now. I'm wildly disappointed in you guys. Wildly. I'm just, I'm a little emotional damage.
Emotional damage.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel it. Damn, y'all. Come on, man. Make sure to hit that like button, y'all. It's the #1 metric of all of YouTube, and it helps out the show immensely. Thank you.
Hezbollah is the bigger threat in a general sense, and Hamas is degraded far more than Hezbollah has been degraded. If we look at the Israeli operations in Lebanon, they've barely started to scratch the surface of Hezbollah's entrenchment in South Lebanon. So turning to Gaza instead of Lebanon isn't necessarily a win for the Israelis when the bigger threat on Israel's border has always come from Hezbollah and remains Hezbollah.
All right, David Dowd, senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, focusing there on Hezbollah and Lebanon. Always great to have you. Anything else that you want to add before I let you go?
I would just say don't be optimistic that this deal will solve the problem of Hezbollah or that it will prevent the group's regeneration. We may find ourselves, unfortunately, having this discussion in any number of years.
All right, David, as always, thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate it. And I do want to take you right now out to a live image that we do have coming in from our Fox 2 Detroit team. This is a story that we are following that is breaking at this hour. Crews responding to reports of an explosion at the General Motors Proving Grounds. This is over in Milford, Michigan, which is just outside of Detroit, where the automaker does test its cars and trucks. Now, this footage right here is from Skyfox, and you can see water being poured onto that site there. Firefighters spraying foam onto 2 major metal tanks. This is on the west side of that General Motors Proving Ground. It's unclear what happened, but reports of a loud boom in Milford were reported around the area. Calls made to 911 and folks just trying to figure out.
Well, they're lucky that it was only these 2 like silos or whatever. I mean, shit. Like even everything around it, all this could have burnt the fuck down. Fucking lucky there's no fire on the outside and this shit didn't run. Like if you're in California, it's gone.
Exactly what was going on. So again, a lot of questions as there is this major law enforcement and fire department presence. Several fire rigs were spotted in the area.
What's up, Brotherhood
on
Dog?
the side street
of
the Proving Grounds. Now, the Proving Grounds are located off of General Motors Road. If you are familiar with that area, that is south of M59.
No worries, Pablo.
Again, we do not have any additional details just yet, but we are following the latest.
See, that's the best way to do it right there, Brother Hardwire. You got it down to a science.
Here with the help of our Fox 2 Detroit team. Again, that is a live image that is coming in from our Fox 2 Detroit team and their Skyfox that is flying overhead, spraying that foam as we work to gather more reports of an explosion at the General Motors.
Damn. GM killed your guys' car industry over there. What? As soon as they started like importing them or what? I mean, I would imagine since GM came out, you guys would have them over there too, right?
Proving Ground
in Australia,
in Milford,
everybody
just
else
outside of Detroit. Again, as we get more details here on
What's
this
up, Dragon Class?
story,
Good
we'll
morning.
bring them to you right here on Live Now from Fox. Do have to sneak away for a quick 2-minute commercial break, but on the other side, we will have much more live, raw, and unfiltered coverage.
We get to go ahead.
You're watching Live Now from Fox.
We're gonna go ahead and skip that, and we can enjoy this little jam for a second. Do the Trump.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. The time 8:32 on the East Coast and 5:32 on the West
That's right,
Coast.
Miss
You are
Bula.
taking
Thank
a
you for
live
that,
look
by the way.
over Beirut in Lebanon as there is discussion about this potential ceasefire deal between Israel and Lebanese Hezbollah. We'll make sure to bring you the latest details as we do get them. In the meantime, there are 101 hostages that remain in Hamas captivity more than 400 days after being kidnapped by terrorists during the October 7th attack on Israel. About 50 days
101, he said? 101? Damn.
Massacre. Dozens of hostages were rescued, released amid a ceasefire deal that was later broken by Hamas. Today does mark 1 year since Aviva Siegel was rescued and reunited with her family after 51 days in captivity. Now, her husband still remains in captivity.
Damn.
Aviva joining us now live to
No
share her
fucking way.
firsthand account of what happened as she was held by the terrorist organization. Aviva, thank you so much for taking...
Yo, real quick. We got the man, the myth, the legend. We got Brother Lee Lance that sent over $2 on the Cash App for saying, hey, listen, we got dues over here. We got dollar dues. Appreciate you. Yes, sir. Dues paid, cuh. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you.
taking the time to be here with us. I can't even begin to imagine what you've been through.
Thank you very much. And I want to just tell you that there's 102 hostages in Gaza because I haven't left Gaza. I'm still in Gaza. I'm still there with Keith. I'm still there with the girls that I was with, worried, and all the hostages. And I just can't explain in words what I feel. I feel so sad. And I just don't understand. What are they still doing in Gaza? In such bad conditions. I was there. I know what it feels. They should have been out.
You forgot about the booger sugar too, Steve.
Months ago.
Can you walk me through what happened to you that day on October 7th, more than 400 days ago?
Keith and I were sleeping, and at half past 6 in the morning, we woke up for the first alarm and ran into our bomb shelter. We didn't even have enough time to close the door or to close the window. But very quickly, we understood that something very big is happening. It felt and seemed like the end of the world. Israel suffered from so many rockets coming from Gaza. And it just felt like my feet were shaking, my house was shaking with me. And I remember looking at Keith in the eyes and saying, what is happening? And shortly after that...
I hope you are as well. I hope you're having a good one. Good morning. So far, for us anyways, it's 10:50 in the morning.
Sitting and shaking.
Or for me,
Keith was
specifically.
trying to calm me down. And Hamas terrorists came and shot my house.
Damn.
While I heard that. And then I heard them stepping and walking inside my house. And I remember saying to Keith, they're here, next to the door. And they're just 15 terrorists just shoved inside to a little bomb shelter. They tore Keith's shirt. They pushed him. They broke his ribs. They shot him on his...
Damn. Dean says our house is still going on over there in Israel. Damn, dude.
And
Unreal.
I want to tell you all that I am lucky to be sitting here and to be being alive, because there were so many moments there that I nearly died. We were left underneath the ground, 40 meters, with no oxygen, and I felt
like I can't even imagine living that way. Like I just can't even imagine like the daily raining of rockets and shit. Like how could you like live that way? Like humongous respect to you guys over there.
Death. It was just the feeling that death was coming so quickly. And I don't know if any of you that are listening to me, but I want to tell you that it's the worst thing that any human being should go through. Feeling like you plead for oxygen and there's no oxygen in the air. And you're just lying and trying to figure out when are you going to die. And I used to just all the time think that I do not want to see my Keith, that 65 years old, American citizen from North Carolina. I did not want to see Keith dead.
From North Carolina, yo. What?
Most sweetest, loving, giving person in earth. And I was just so worried about him. And being in Gaza for 51 days for me was hell all the time. There was not 1 minute that I could just relax myself and say, okay, just relax. Because I felt that they're going to kill me, the Hamas terrorists, all the time.
Nice. You did call it, by the way. You did call that shit. I like that. From South Africa. Yep.
And buildings are going to fall on me and kill me.
What's up, Brother
and kill
Slim?
Keith.
Good morning, my man.
You touched on this there, but I do want to ask you, can you tell me about your time in captivity a little bit further? Again, you were held there for more than 50 days. Can you explain to folks out there, because there's so much information
I
about
know
exactly...
that. I definitely know that. There's a lot of American citizens over there,
what is going on. So can you explain that to the folks who are watching?
Okay, so a normal day, if you can call it a normal day, we're lying on a filthy, dirty mattress on the floor, and the terrorists are in front of us, playing with their guns. And they're playing with the guns towards us. And then You get the feeling that the building's going to fall on you, and you look at the ceiling, and I used to count the cracks in the wall to see if the building is going to make it this time, because the rockets came.
Maybe for status? I don't know, Steve. I have no idea. Honestly, I wouldn't. And that's me being 100% real.
Out of the building, and we were just lying there. We weren't allowed to talk. We weren't allowed to whisper. And I was starving for 51 days. I lost 10 kilos in Gaza. And I had an infection in my stomach because
It is, by the way, the original OG Charles Darwin from Down Under. Yeah. From the fake country? Yeah.
water wasn't good for me. And I hardly got any water. So I was dehydrated. And we were just lying there or sitting there and waiting for the worst thing to happen again. If it was they touched the girls, or they hit the girls and beated them, or when they took Keith and shaved him looking like an Arab and made out of him a joke.
Yes, from Jess's panel. Yes.
If we were told in the middle of the night to get dressed looking like Arabs, and they just sat us next to the wall in a line, waiting. Well, we just wanted to lie down. We were tired. And starved while they were eating in front of us. And you see them chewing, and you say to yourself, when are you going to get a little bit of food? And you understand that you can't even ask, and that you have no rights because they don't even care about you.
No, they
and
don't
one
give
of
a
the times
fuck.
when they put black material on our eyes and walked us down stairs. I'm 63 years old. Keith is 65 years old. We had to go down 3 stories of stairs trying to figure out where to put our next foot. And just everything, and every minute, I prayed that I'll stay alive to come back to my family. And I can tell you that I did lose hope so many times, and I wanted them to kill me because I went through just too much to see them in such a brutal way treat Keith, pull him and push him, and tear his shirt, and tear.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know how she got out, if she got released by the IDF or how she ended up leaving. I have no idea, actually. Maybe she said it and I just missed it. I don't know.
Like, do whatever they wanted all the time.
I agree with that, by the way.
I do want to ask, can you tell me about the day?
I think, aren't they all armed? I thought they were. I thought because it's, when you're in the military, everyone has to go into the military, men and women over there. So I think when you get out, you have a gun, don't you? That's what I thought, but.
That you were released, really rescued there from Hamas captivity during that ceasefire hostage release deal.
Brother Dean knows right here. He says right here, she was a part of one of the first hostage deals. Okay, one of the deals that were made. Okay, understood.
You know that you were being reunited with your family. What happened that day?
No, because they told us all the time that there's no Israel anymore. Israel does not exist, and that we're going to stay there. And I believed them. So I did not believe the Hamas terrorist when he told me on the 50th day in the evening without Keith that I'm going to Israel. I did not believe him. I was sure that he's going to take me and he's going to rape me, or he's just going to kill me.
Yeah, that is a very hardcore thing. Whether she's exaggerating what happened or whatever story, whatever. That's a real fear. That's a real fucking fear over there. So whether she herself is, making a little, exaggerated or whatever the case is, doesn't matter, because that what she just stated right there, that is something that they're very fearful of, because it does happen.
That he's going to take me and he's going to rape me, or he's just going to kill me. And they didn't even let me say goodbye to Keith. So I pushed them and I went to Keith and I gave him a hug and I looked at him straight in the eyes and I told him, you be strong for me and I'll be strong for you, not knowing what they're going to do to me,
Wow,
or
Mr.
what they're
Boulay.
going to do to Keith, or if I'll ever see Keith again.
Do you believe that the hostages at this point, that enough attention is being paid to them, your husband included? Because again, more than 400 days later, we're talking about more than 100 hostages that remain in captivity. Do you think that enough is being done to bring them home?
You know that when Hirsch, the American citizen that lost his hand and was killed in such a brutal way, his conditions were the worst conditions in earth. He was dehydrated and he was sick, ill. And that's 3 months ago. I was sure.
No, it's on the 28th.
That
it's on the 28th, Bob, for us, by the way. It changes. It's the last Thursday of each November, right? The last Thursday? Am I right about that?
The whole world would
Yeah, it is.
stand up on their feet and say, no more. We don't want to let human beings suffer. Like we saw what they did, what they came back now, like. So I really don't know what kind of kid we're going to get back. I do know that I want him back so badly. And I want the girls that
Yeah, that's boom. There goes Dean right here. He says we can apply. Not all get a license to carry. I do due to being 700 meters away from Gaza, the Gaza border. Yeah, that's brutal.
was with so badly.
Shit.
And all the hostages back. We became one big, huge family. And I'm worried about them all the time.
There's a lot of misinformation that has been out over the last more than 400 days. So I did want to get kind of your take on it. Can you let me know what your message is to the people who are watching right now? What do you want to make sure they know?
Okay, it's always the fourth. Okay, understood. Always the fourth Thursday. Understood.
Me just to think about somebody that they love, that's underneath the ground, that hasn't got any oxygen, no food. Nobody would want that for their loved ones.
The fourth
So I don't
Thursday.
want that too. And I want to ask everybody that can, I'm begging you, please, please to help us. We need the world's help to get them out. Because I can't see Keith sitting here next to me, and I want him to be here with me. And I want all the hostages to come back to their families. They do not deserve to be there. And Hamas terrorists, they are the ones that are holding them. They are the ones that he is in those conditions. They are the ones that I nearly died. I touched death.
I'm actually really surprised how much airtime they're giving this woman.
Underneath the ground. I saw that and felt that. And I saw it on Keith. And I can't imagine Keith being there for more than a year, more than me.
Aviva Siegel, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here and share your firsthand account of what did happen there. Is there anything else?
Nothing is a fucking coincidence, by the way.
Else you want to add about any of this before I let you go?
I just want to add, thank you for having me. And thank you for listening to me, everybody. I just want to tell everybody that's listening to me that it's the cruelest thing in earth for us as humans to allow any human to go through something like that. The evil cannot win. And I want to tell you that Keith and I are peacemakers, and we do want and always wanted good for the whole world. So please, please let my grandchildren have a good world. And all the people that live in this world need to live and feel safe and be happy and love. The terror should not win. Thank you very, very much.
Right. Aviva, thank you so much. And we are remaining hopeful for your family, for so many other families.
It sounds like she's done this story a few times.
Waiting on the release of their loved ones. Thank you again for taking the time to be here with us.
What's up, Brother Warland?
Bye-bye.
Good morning, my man.
All right, we are going to head to a quick break right now at 8:44 on the East Coast and 5:44 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and you're watching Live Now from Fox.
And now we're going to skip ahead because I want to skip over into a different storyline here that I did catch. I'm trying to find it real quick. Okay, so we're about to see something very interesting coming up. I don't care about a court case, to be real. Here it is.
That they are under the two.
This is going to be interesting right here. Watch this.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome in here on Live Now from Fox. My name is Josh Breslow, and it's Tuesday, November 26th, 2 days away from Thanksgiving. The time now 10:38 on the East Coast and 7:38 on the West Coast. We are waiting on a live briefing to get underway with the New York City Police Department as they talk about some of their preparations that they are undergoing here for security at the New York City Thanksgiving Parade, which, by the way, we're going to bring to you live, raw, and unfiltered.
That's not what we're going to talk about.
Right here on Live Now from Fox, but they are going to talk about all things security in just a matter of minutes.
I don't care about that that storyline. We'll skip past that. I don't care about what New York cops are doing.
For now, I do want to head back out live over to New York City. That is where we do have the United Nations Security Council meeting to discuss
United Nations Security Council meeting going on. Here we go.
A variety of topics related to Israel.
This will be our last coverage of the morning of this live stream. So this will be the last story we do.
And Hamas, as well as Israel and Hezbollah. Now, they are focusing for the most part on humanitarian aid workers that have been injured or killed during the course of the war.
Challenges, though not always visible, are significant. Drawing from its own disaster response experience, Japan recognizes the importance of mental health support for both victims and aid providers.
So this is Japan speaking at the moment.
Japan has contributed financial resources to the UNDSS project, Capacity Building in Crisis Psychosocial Support, which has been enhancing the capacity of the UN mental health experts by updating training programs since January. Fourth, Japan has long emphasized the need for safe and smooth peace operation transitions during the drawdowns of peace missions, particularly with...
Make sure you guys do me a favor real quick. We'll jump in the middle of Japan's little prattle here. Make sure you guys hit that like button, yo. It's the #1 metric of all of YouTube, man. It helps out your boy over here, man. Thank you.
Safety and security of humanitarian personnel. Their drawdowns, whether due to political circumstances to exit the country or to successful completions, often increase...
But they'll allow shit like that to come through, you know? You try to say hi to somebody, they block you.
Risks for aid workers. The Security Council must plan transitions carefully and early, leveraging the expertise of the UN peacekeeping missions, special political missions, OCHA, UNDSS, the Peace Building Commission, UNCTs, and other relevant bodies to mitigate security risks and ensure continuity of assistance. Finally, it is essential to sustain the momentum generated by the adoption of Resolution 2730. In this regard, we hope the declaration pursued by the Ministerial Group for the Protection of Humanitarian Personnel, initiated by Australia, with Japan participating as a member, will garner widespread support when it is subsequently adopted. Such a declaration would symbolize the international community's unity and resolve to protect humanitarian personnel. Mr. President, in conclusion, Japan reaffirms its unwavering commitment to protecting humanitarian workers. We call on the international community to collectively enhance measures to safeguard these vital actors whose selfless efforts bring hope and relief to millions of worldwide. Together, we must ensure their courage and humanity are met not with...
Here, I'll give it to you.
Emotional damage.
...violence, but with the protection and respect that they deserve. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Japan for their statement, and I give the floor to the representative of Ecuador.
Gracias, presidente, y agradezco al subsecretario Michaud, a la directora Dotten y a la señora Stoddard por sus exposiciones informativas, así como al secretario general por la elaboración del informe. En un contexto de conflictos generalizados y crisis humanitarias crecientes, los trabajadores humanitarios prestan servicios esenciales a millones de
What
personas.
is this thing? What is that? I mean, I'd get it if you're like the translator, but maybe you are the why? What is that contraption?
Personas que requieren de asistencia y
protection. However, humanitarian workers are dying
Thank you.
on an unprecedented scale, with more than 280 of them having been killed in 33 countries. 2023 had been the deadliest year that the international community had seen, as we have already heard. Unfortunately, this tragic trend has got even worse this year in 2024. In a recent press release, OCHA informed that 281 humanitarian workers have been killed so far this year. The extreme levels of violence in Sudan and Gaza have contributed to the number of fatal victims. They can be added to the threats, detentions, and trials that they face, as non-governmental organizations and locally hired staff are the most vulnerable. Humanitarian work hinges on those who carry out.
I guess that does make sense for him when he's listening to other countries. I get that part. I understand now.
Doubt. There is no aid possible without humanitarian workers. It is therefore civilians who ultimately bear the consequences for these attacks. And this bears witness to the complex task that humanitarian organizations have. They have to get to those most in need, but at the same time guarantee that their staff will be safe. The normalization of violence against humanitarian workers is unacceptable, and it seriously hampers aid operations. Saving lives shouldn't mean costing lives. It is in this context that Ecuador welcomes the recommendations laid down in the SG's report, and we'd like to underscore the following points in particular. First of all, we need to beef up monitoring systems for the safety of humanitarian personnel. This means continuing to improve the quality of the data systems on incidents. Humanitarian organizations must have access to information to strengthen their risk assessment and their security management. This means bolstering mechanisms for the exchange of information and facilitating support services. Secondly, the principles of humanity, impartiality, neutrality, and independence must be upheld at all times, and international humanitarian law must be respected. The adoption of Resolution 2730 is a reminder of the obligation that parties to armed conflicts have to protect humanitarian personnel, their premises, and their assets. We also need to counter the disinformation that threatens the security and legitimacy of humanitarian actors. Thirdly, we all have the obligation.
Ironically, not even funny. Yeah, it does sound like Elon.
To demand accountability for those who perpetrate crimes against humanitarian workers. This needs to be done by strengthening national judicial procedures and, where appropriate, resorting to international mechanisms in application of the principle of complementarity. We have this morning heard about some alternatives. Finally, we must continue to support the implementation of the UN Security Risk Management System. And at the same time, we must promote compliance with the normative frameworks, including the Convention on the Safety of UN and Associated Personnel, which provide fundamental safeguards to allow humanitarian operations to fulfill their work in the most difficult environments, as the USG clearly explained to us. I conclude with what I've already said.
I think all the translation now that is done, I've noticed that majority of the translations are done by AI. Yes.
Saving lives shouldn't cost lives. And I thank you for your attention.
This one's an actual
I thank
dude.
the
He's just being monotone like that.
representative of Ecuador for their statement, and I give the floor to the representative of the United States.
Thank you, Mr. President.
United
and thank
States.
you to the representatives from OCHA, DSS, and Humanitarian Outcomes for your insightful.
This is what I care about right here. I'm glad that they actually went to the United States pretty damn quick.
Briefings. Mr. President, we are deeply appreciative of the UN and its partners' vital humanitarian efforts around the world.
No, the UN, do not appreciate. Defund it all.
Humanitarian agencies support people in dire need, even in the most dangerous of situations. Not only that, humanitarians are a critical part of the local communities where they serve. They are critical after crises recede and the news outlets move on, building capacity and resilience. And they amplify the voices of the most vulnerable in the halls of power, such as this one, sharing what is happening on the ground and advocating for pragmatic solutions. I am particularly grateful to Switzerland for its leadership on Resolution 2730, which solidified a consensus on the need for all parties to arm conflict to protect humanitarian workers in accordance with international humanitarian law. It is unacceptable
Be safe
that
out
those
there,
who
Brother
assist
Lee.
and protect the most vulnerable
Appreciate you, my man.
would themselves be the target of violence. Earlier this year, Houthi militants rounded up scores of UN and diplomatic staff, all of whom were working to bring life-saving assistance to the Yemeni people. In Ukraine, members of Russia's forces have inflicted unconscionable acts of brutality on civilians, including torture and forcible transfer and deportation of children. These acts are not random or spontaneous, but part of the Kremlin's widespread and systematic efforts.
Mr. Boulay comes in hot real quick, says, oh, smack. The House Oversight Committee is looking to abolish the ATF. Breaking news. I'm just now reading about it, not 100% on the details. I will do some digging on that.
Against the Ukrainian people. In Gaza,
but I won't hold my breath
civilians
either.
Have endured sheer hell in this war. Far too many civilians have been killed, including thousands of children. More than
hey, man, we cover all the world's news over here, man. Whether it's even, just these UN conferences or, I mean, some of it can be dry as fuck. Actually, majority of it is dry as fuck. So, but hey, listen, I like to actually get the story and what they're doing and not what somebody's talking about the talk, because I don't want to hear what people think about it. I want to know what actually happened. And so, yeah, it can be dry at times,
300
I appreciate
humanitarian workers have been killed, a number higher than in any other conflict in the UN's history. It is heartbreaking. It is unacceptable. We are deeply concerned about the insufficient amount of aid reaching Palestinian civilians in Gaza. It is critical humanitarian pauses be implemented to enable a surge of life-saving assistance and to protect the very humanitarians whose selfless acts.
Bro, I'm the exact same fucking way, Steve. I have a 86-inch television right here, and I rarely use it. I do it when I listen to music and stuff like that. But aside from that, I don't watch TV. No, I don't.
We are discussing today. The United States continues to urge all parties to facilitate the unhindered movement of humanitarian and commercial convoys into and throughout Gaza. We have and will continue to make clear to Israel that it must do more to facilitate entry and delivery of aid and commercial goods inside Gaza. The fact that Hamas's actions endanger civilians does not negate Israel's responsibilities to protect civilians, including humanitarian personnel. In Lebanon, we are deeply concerned by reports of thousands of people killed and injured, often in densely populated urban areas far from the Blue Line. And we were saddened by the deaths of 2 UNHCR staff in September and remain concerned about the displacement of aid workers and the civilians they are working to serve. We reiterate our call on all parties to protect civilians, civilian infrastructure, and humanitarian operations to ensure humanitarian access in all parts of Lebanon and to abide by their obligations under international law. As we have said many times, only a diplomatic resolution will enable civilians on both sides of the blue line to return to their homes. Israel has a right to protect its citizens from Hezbollah, which has fired thousands of missiles and rockets over the past year alone. However, we have made clear to Israel that it has a responsibility to do far more to protect civilians and civilian infrastructure. Colleagues, we are also concerned about the safety and security of humanitarian staff in Sudan. Since the start of the conflict, fighting has killed 50 aid workers and injured many others. Dozens of humanitarian staff have been detained, and some still remain unaccounted for. We continue to call on the parties to uphold their commitments from Jeddah, including allowing for the rapid and unimpeded passage of humanitarian relief and personnel, as well as the protection of humanitarian workers. We must also note that despite the critical need for aid, Russia obstructed Council action on a resolution to address the catastrophic situation in Sudan and is playing both sides of the conflict to advance its own political objectives. It is simply unconscionable. Colleagues, the United States position is clear. The Geneva Conventions are as important today as they were 75 years ago, which is why we joined the call earlier this year for a renewed commitment to them. I can assure you, we will continue advocating for protection of humanitarian personnel everywhere.
I wouldn't
around the
expect
world.
any less.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I wouldn't expect any less for obviously it, as much as I don't like the UN, the EU, all, the NATO, I don't like any of it. I think they're all garbage. I think we should defund all of it. 2025, defund all of it. Just my hot take. But hey, listen, I understand what they're doing here. And at least, they're looking at humanity. Okay, I can actually agree with that, in that aspect. But honestly, the truth is we shouldn't be fronting the bill for fucking everything. Why are we fronting the bill for everything? Come on, man. If we're going to have these organizations and shit, where's their part? You're in this shit too. Aren't you supposed to be splitting the bill? Nah, America takes care of it all.
I thank the representative of the United States.
All right, that's enough. That's enough of that for me. Let me go ahead and make sure that Netanyahu hasn't come out and is starting to speak yet. Let me see what this is. Okay, actually, this is actually something that I do want to hear. Okay.
We are seeing that later.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We are going to head over to that live right now as, again, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is speaking.
Secretary of State.
To the escalation by Russia, and in particular, now the involvement of troops from North Korea. And let me say on that, that this is a matter of grave concern for all the members of the G7, both because of what it means for Ukraine, what it means for broader European security, but also what it means in the Indo-Pacific. We see that
you got that right, motherfucker. Absolutely, this guy's a piece of shit.
the security between the Indo-Pacific and the Euro-Atlantic community are joined. The relationship between Russia and North Korea is a two-way street. We see what North Korea is doing for Russia and Ukraine right now with the troops, but we also are looking attentively at what Russia is and may be doing for North Korea, including potentially boosting its missile and nuclear capacity. So this was a shared concern among all the G7 partners. But in our support for Ukraine, we're also finalizing getting out the door the $50 billion that have been secured on the basis of the Russian sovereign assets that are frozen. Last week, the United States unveiled its latest sanctions on Russia's financial sector,
$50 billion?
including Gazprom Bank. And we, I think, can anticipate further action by G7 countries as well. G7 and partner countries have committed more than $2 billion to the energy sector in Ukraine since Russia escalated its attacks on that sector. As we head into the winter, we have G7 plus.
You want to know who escalated motherfucking shit? It was Biden. What are you talking about? Nice job trying to point the finger there.
Plus donors supporting, among other things, repairs for damaged power plants to restore over 2 gigawatts of generation capacity, the delivery of over 18,000 generators to help heat homes, hospitals, and schools. The G7 has also led the global push for enduring security commitments to Ukraine. 27 countries have now signed bilateral security agreements with Ukraine to help provide for their deterrence and defense capacity over the next decade. Today, the G7 had the opportunity to speak with Foreign Minister Sabia about these and other lines of effort to further ensure that we're strengthening Ukraine's military and economic position going into and through 2025.
Me too,
we're determined
Dwayne.
that Ukraine has the money, the munitions, and mobilized forces to fight effectively in 2025 or to negotiate, but from a position of strength. We've also built on the G7's efforts to promote a free and open Indo-Pacific. As I mentioned, this focus today on the presence of North Korean troops.
Because it would be unfair. Looking at kind of like taxes, the billionaires versus, lower income people. Yeah, it's kind of like the same ideology that they use. It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, actually, because who ends up really actually paying the price? All of you guys, me, anybody that pays taxes. Yeah. Shit's lame.
In the aggression that Russia's committing against Ukraine. We spent a lot of time on that.
Exactly.
But also on China's ongoing support for Russia's defense industrial base, all of which is allowing Russia to continue the aggression against Ukraine. Both of which are reminders that European and Indo-Pacific security are joined. And one of the hallmarks of our administration has been to build bridges.
And I believe it also is a percentage off of what it's supposed to be is a percentage off of your GDP. I think that's what's actually the deal. I think that's actually the answer to that.
In Europe, the Indo-Pacific, and other regions, because so many of the issues that we have to face are shared issues, shared concerns, whether they're challenges and threats or whether they're opportunities. The G7 is increasingly aligned on our view of economic and security risks posed by the People's Republic of China, the policies it's pursuing, even as we recognize the need for constructive engagement. Over 4 years, we have forged much greater convergence, more than ever before, on common approaches to China. A shared commitment, for example, to economic and security de-risking, dealing with overcapacity and unfair trade practices coming from Beijing, focused together on export controls on the most sensitive technology, working together on investment screening, standing against economic coercion, building minerals supply security, supply chains more generally, and their security and resilience, and helping to build sustainable infrastructure together around the world.
What's up,
The bottom line is
unapologetic?
this: we are much stronger, we're much more effective when we're acting together, not alone. And just to cite the obvious example in the economic area, when we're dealing with policies of concern by China, any of our countries acting alone, compared to when we're acting together, simply cannot be as effective.
We owe way too much money to China. We're forever in debt to China. Personally, there's no way. Yeah, there's no way. We're definitely deep in the shit with China.
In the case of the United States, we're 20% or so of world GDP. When we're acting together with our G7 partners, it's more like 50%.
Good morning. Good morning.
And that weight is a weight that can't be ignored. As a result of the historic investments that we've made at home in the United States, as well as in our partnerships abroad, we're now engaging China and the challenges it poses from a position of strength. And that's something that we'll be able to hand off to the next administration. We also spent time discussing the opportunity and indeed the necessity to end conflicts in the Middle East and lay the foundation for a more durable peace, now that Israel has achieved its strategic goals in the wake of October 7th.
I agree.
In Gaza, we remain committed to bringing the hostages home
What's up, Akrons?
and
Good to see
ending
you.
the humanitarian crisis that Gaza's children, women, and men are facing every single day. We agreed with Arab partners that we cannot end the conflict without a plan for the post-conflict, something that we're working on intensely as we speak. We also reiterated deep concern with Iran's nuclear activities and continued failure to cooperate fully with the IAEA. One other important area of focus over these last 2 days, and that's Sudan, the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. This horrific war has produced suffering for tens of millions of people, over 20 million forced to flee atrocities, facing famine, facing violence. I had an opportunity yesterday to visit with the World Food Program and to get an up-to-date report on the situation on the ground and what they're facing in terms of trying to deliver assistance to people in need. Now, we've made some progress over the last few weeks, particularly in terms of humanitarian access. Today,
we're talking about Gaza, right?
The World Food Program announced that for the first time, pretty much since the conflict has kicked off, they're getting trucks to famine-isolated areas like Zamzam, an IDP camp. With partners, we've also made progress to expand life-saving access to emergency food and medicine in other places, including the opening of the Adre border crossing and the establishment of humanitarian flights. I had a very good meeting with partners from Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates.
Be good, Brother Warland. Appreciate you always, man.
And Egypt on the next
Penguin
steps
Posse, good to
that
see you,
we
man.
all will endorse and need to take.
Appreciate you,
The
my
G7
man.
and its
Hit that
partners
like
like these
button, yo.
countries are committed to expanding humanitarian access in Sudan and at the same time working toward ending the conflict and the suffering of the Sudanese people. We also addressed efforts to mitigate other conflicts and other humanitarian challenges around the world. We agreed on the need to continue increasing support for the multilateral security support mission in Haiti, for the contingent that's there, as well as for the Haitian National Police, and on the importance of turning this mission into a formal peacekeeping operation. We also worked to ensure effective follow-on peacekeeping forces in Somalia. Many other things were on the agenda. I just wanted to focus on those. And to conclude by saying that, from my perspective, these last 2 days, and in fact, these last 4 years, are a reminder that we can navigate an increasingly complex world much more effectively when we're doing it together, when we're working with partners, with allies. The G7 has set us up for success on issues that matter to the citizens of each of our countries and that matter to people around
G7 just takes our money.
The world. Our greatest strategic asset, our most significant force multiplier.
No fucking kidding. No kidding, Charles. At that, yeah.
Individually and
I
collectively.
don't give a fuck what's happening over there. What kind of ties do we got to? Why do we have any obligation to Somalia?
Is our ability to come together and work in common cause. And from my perspective, that's never been more important. It remains essential that we keep working together to get results, to deliver for the people that we have the honor and privilege of representing. Thank you. And with that, happy to take some questions.
First question will go to Shannon Kingston from ABC.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. As you said, a 60-day ceasefire deal in Lebanon appears imminent.
Be good out there, AU. Be safe. Appreciate you always, my man. Thank you.
But in 60 days, you won't be in office anymore. Do you plan to work with the incoming Trump administration to ensure that this truce can really turn into a lasting peace? And the White House has said that this deal can lead to a ceasefire in Gaza. But for almost a year, it seems that nothing has moved the needle with Hamas. So what makes you think that this will convince the group to turn over the hostages it's holding?
Great. First, yes, we're absolutely committed to working with the incoming administration on this issue and everything that we're dealing with.
And everything.
I had a good conversation with my successor to be, Senator Rubio, the other day. I look forward to meeting with him and to going over in detail
I'll do way
exactly
better
where
than
we
you.
are and where we hope we can go, or if we haven't been able to complete the work, the next administration can go. And having that continuity and being able to hand off to the next administration the strongest possible hand to play in bringing peace and bringing security is exactly what I'm focused on. When it comes to a ceasefire, assuming we get it in Lebanon, as I said, I think this can have profound effects, not only immediately for those concerned, that is to say, people in Lebanon and Israel, who are facing a barrage of missiles and mortars and rockets every single day, saving lives, saving livelihoods, creating the conditions so that people can return to their homes in northern Israel and in southern Lebanon. 70 to 80,000 people displaced in northern Israel, an equal or even greater number displaced in southern Lebanon. But yes, in terms of Gaza itself, I also think this can have a significant impact. Why is that? Because one of the things that Hamas has sought from day one is to get others in on the fight, to create multiple fronts, to make sure that Israel was having to fight in a whole series of different places. And as long as it's thought that that was possible, that's one of the reasons.
Yeah, totally cooperating. Yeah, totally helping out. Totally.
It's held back from doing what's necessary
By the way, Papa.
to end the conflict. Now, if it sees that the cavalry is not on the way, that may incentivize it to do what it needs to do to end this conflict. Now, we have two things that are essential. One is getting the hostages back, including the 7 Americans. But we also need to make sure that in order to end the conflict, we have a clear plan for what follows the conflict that enables the people of Gaza to move forward with their lives without Hamas and with Israel having pulled out of Gaza. We spent some time here, just as we have in past weeks and months, working on that plan. And that, too, is something that we'll be working on intensely over the coming weeks.
You sound like you're yapping,
and talking
dude.
to the incoming administration about.
Just yapping.
Julia Pompili with El Folio.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. My question is about what could be the coordinated response that you discussed today regarding the escalation of North Korean troops in Russia, since apparently this sanction policy didn't work. And the same question is about China. The Chinese is
a lot of it,
to the Russia's basic industries. What could be the response of G7 in addition to condemnation? Thank you so much.
Well, I think we've seen over the last more than 2.5 years now, coordinated and effective sanctions deployed by the G7 countries,
Here goes
by
bullshit.
the EU, by other countries concerned, to continue to increase the pressure on
It's
Russia
all been
and
bullshit.
any of those who are aiding and abetting its ongoing aggression against Ukraine. That's the case, for example, with regard to Chinese entities that are supporting Russia's defense industrial base. And you've seen us, but you've also seen Europe sanction many of those entities. With regard to North Korea, we've been working together for some time to increase the pressure on North Korea, including through sanctions. But I think what's essential here is this. China has an important role to play in using its influence with the DPRK, North Korea, as well as with Russia, to cease these activities.
It's not going to happen.
In the absence of that, I think one of the things you're going to see is the countries in the Indo-Pacific region, and particularly on the Korean Peninsula, including the United States, including South Korea, including Japan, taking further steps to strengthen our own deterrence and defense capacities. And why is that? Because, as I mentioned before, we're deeply concerned about this two-way street. Not only what North Korea is doing for Russia in its aggression against Ukraine, but what Russia is and may do for North Korea in terms of its missile capacity, its nuclear capacity,
Well, stop
all of which increases
fucking around with them then, idiot.
Stupid.
Stop fucking around with them. If you leave them alone, they will leave you alone. Idiot.
security and instability on the Korean Peninsula, and will cause
Brother
us
Steve,
to
appreciate
take
you, my
further
man. Be
steps,
safe out there.
building on what we've already done to strengthen our deterrence and to strengthen our defense. And these are undoubtedly steps that, while not directed at China, China will not like. So when they are hearing not only from us, but from many countries in Europe and from many countries in Asia, the deep concerns that we all have about this relationship between Russia and North Korea, and as a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, we, I think, would all look to China to use its influence to try to bring this to an end.
Christina Ruffini with One Decision.
Man, this is hard.
Mr. Secretary, do you think the European consensus on support for Ukraine will hold if the next administration pulls back from that effort? Can it survive without the full-throated support of America and particularly the American president? And I know you've been in meetings, I don't know if you've seen the images, but the Beirut skyline is currently littered with smoke plumes from heavy Israeli bombardment. Can you confirm the U.S. was only informed of that operation after it was in progress? And I'm wondering why the U.S. hasn't been able to be more influential in guiding Israel's actions in these conflicts. At this
Oh
point,
my
does
God.
the U.S.
You know the answer to this shit because we're fucking idiots and we fucking give out their shit. That's why. Fucking moron. Yeah, they're not going to tell you shit anymore if you're going to tell the world the plan. The fuck is they're way more strategic than that, dude.
Israel alliance benefit Israel more than it does the United States? Thank you.
Thanks. Let me take the second part first. I'll come to Ukraine and Europe in a minute. I think what you're seeing every day, that is rockets, missiles going in both directions, only underscores how urgent it is to get the ceasefire. And it's why we've been working so intensely on bringing it to conclusion. That's the single most important thing to make an immediate difference, to stop the rockets and missiles from flying, again, in both directions. Yes, we're seeing these attacks in Beirut directed against Hezbollah, but every single day, Hezbollah has been launching projectiles into Israel, into northern Israel, as it's done.
That's the first like fact you've said.
Every day since October 7th, which is how this problem started.
No, it started long before October 7th, but yeah, in particular of what he's actually talking about of the animosity at each other right now. Yeah.
Again, I'm not going to speak to that. We've been focused on trying to see that this ceasefire agreement gets over the line and gets implemented. That's what's going to make the biggest difference. Look, we've been very clear also from day one that for the United States,
funny.
We have a number of objectives in the Middle East. One is to make sure that we do everything we can to support Israel in its efforts to make sure that October 7th never happens again.
Oh my God.
Second, to do everything we can to make sure that the conflict doesn't spread. We don't have more open fronts, more open conflicts, which will simply endanger more lives and more livelihoods and create more suffering. And we've had some significant success in actually doing that, despite many challenges.
What's up,
Yamal? Moments when this easily could have
Yahamala?
escalated into a regional war.
Did I say it right? Man, it's really hard for me with names like that. But hey, appreciate you for being here.
And third has been to do everything we possibly can to help people who are caught in the middle of this horrific crossfire. Crossfire instigated by Hamas on October 7th. And that goes to the work that we've done on getting more humanitarian assistance more effectively to people who need it, to trying to get better protections for civilians who are caught.
Yeah, and then you just allow Hamas to just fucking steal it and send it and sell it back to their own people. Yeah.
This and while we absolutely must see more done on that front, it's also fair to say that what we've seen to date would not have happened without U.S. engagement.
Make sure it goes to the fucking
without U.S.
citizens.
determination. So we're intensely focused on this. We will be till the last day of this administration. On Ukraine and on Europe, look, what I continue to hear, I came from NATO meetings not so long ago, a few weeks ago.
Fuck NATO. Defund it.
G20 meetings, and particularly here at the G7, is enduring European support for Ukraine. I also believe that's reflected in my country because we have a bipartisan majority in both houses of Congress who supported the supplemental budget appropriation for Ukraine. You see support on a bipartisan basis among the public for continuing to support Ukraine. But this has always been not just us, not just about us, not even just about Europe.
No, it's about only America's dollar. That's what it is.
This has been, in many ways, a global effort. We have more than 50 countries.
Global effort? Yeah, if you're from the fucking bill, they'll go, yeah, we'll come along. We'll come along. You're from the bill? Yeah, I'll go to dinner with you. Free meal. What in the fuck, dude?
Who have been supporting Ukraine. And I believe, based on everything I'm hearing, we'll continue to do that. And what we're determined to do in the remainder of this administration is to do everything possible to ensure that Ukraine has what it needs to be able, as I said, to fight through 2025 if necessary, or if there's a negotiation, to be able to negotiate from a position of strength. And much of what we're doing now, working in close coordination with allies and partners, including through the G7, is on these different lines of effort to make sure that we're moving out and moving ahead. Again, money, munitions, mobilized forces,
Money,
and the
ammunition.
training and support that they need. All of this.
Uh-oh. What happened? What happened? The live feed went out.
All right, that shot has appeared to have frozen, but that was Secretary of State Antony Blinken speaking about this potential ceasefire that we could see a little bit later today. And I do actually want to pull up this live
You like
shot
how they just ended that?
for you out of Tel Aviv right now.
Oh, wow.
The latest here is there are Israeli airstrikes that have escalated in Beirut as the U.S. and brokered ceasefire with Hezbollah that would end more than a year after fighting in Lebanon. Again, they are voting on
Look, free the hostages from Hamas. Wow.
that right now, and we are expecting
I
Israeli.
mean,
Prime Minister
obviously, you obviously know they're not going to be so. Not all of them are going to be so stoked on a ceasefire, right?
Benjamin Netanyahu to speak here, scheduled for 8 p.m. local time, but for us here in the United States, that's going to be around 1 p.m.
These are saying they're advocating for the ceasefire.
Eastern time, so just in about 40 minutes or so. Again, you're taking a live look in Tel Aviv right now as hostage families are, my producer just told me we did get Blinken back. Let's head back over there quickly.
Actually redound to our benefit in so many ways. Investments that are made in the United States in terms of investing in our own defense
Yeah, it's in Tel
industrial
Aviv.
base to produce what Ukraine needs to deal with the Russian aggression. And that actually means more jobs in the United States. It means a stronger industrial base for the United States. And at the same time, our European partners are doing the same thing. And the reality is this: Ukraine is fighting for us. It's not just fighting for itself, it's fighting for us, because what we've said from the start, and the reason so many countries are involved in Ukraine's defense, is because the aggression being committed by Russia is not only an aggression against Ukraine and its people, it's an aggression against the very principles that are at the heart of the international system and that are necessary for trying to maintain peace and stability. The notions that are at the heart of the United Nations Charter: sovereignty, independence, territorial integrity. And we know, and these more than 50 countries supporting Ukraine know, that if we let this go with impunity in one place, the message to would-be aggressors anywhere and everywhere is that it's open season. And that's a recipe for a world of conflict. And that's not a world that's in the interest of the United States or anyone else. So standing for Ukraine is, I believe, an important national interest. And that national interest is in making sure that we don't have a world of conflict, that we uphold international law. We uphold the system that is our best way of guaranteeing that there won't be war and that we can maintain peace and stability.
Final question, Cecilia Scaldafari with AGI.
Thank you. As you said, there is great hope for an Israeli green light to the ceasefire agreement on Lebanon, but there are also concerns about how Israel could react to a violation. So what kind of guarantees have you given to it?
So I'm not going to speak to what's in the agreement that is before Israel and before Lebanon. I can say as a general matter that, of course, by definition, Israel will always have the right to deal with challenges or threats to its security, just as any country has that right. But what I believe we have the possibility now of achieving is something that had not been the case up until now, which is the effective implementation of UN Security Council Resolution 1701. Now, why is that important? Well, let's remember just a little bit of history. Israel was in southern Lebanon for 18 years. It got out in 2000. Hezbollah came further to the fore. There was another conflict in 2006. And when Israel ended that conflict as a result of Hezbollah's aggression, the international community, through the Security Council, said we have to have some means of preventing this from happening again, and in particular, through Resolution 1701, making sure that Hezbollah would not be in a position to carry out more attacks against Israel. Unfortunately, 1701 was never effectively implemented. And the result has been Hezbollah has remained in a position where it could attack Israel.
A total, the whole, what's going on there? Yeah, totally propaganda.
And as I said, on October
Just
8th,
is what it
the day
is.
after October 7th, it again launched these attacks on Israel to such an extent that Israelis were forced out of their homes in northern Israel. Now, what we've worked on for many months now was getting an agreement between Israel and Lebanon on the effective implementation of 1701 that would result in the withdrawal of any Israeli forces in Lebanon, the withdrawal of Hezbollah to the north such that it couldn't threaten Israel, the deployment of the Lebanese armed forces, so critical to the security of the state, to southern Lebanon, as well as UNIFIL, and an oversight mechanism to make sure that the agreements were, any agreements are being carried out and fulfilled. So if this is finally agreed, and if this goes forward, it is the answer to the problem that has bedeviled the area for a couple of decades, and is the best way to guarantee that there is peace, there is stability, and this constant threat of attack from Hezbollah, which has caused people to leave their homes, kids to not be able to go to school, is over. People can return, just as people who've been displaced in southern Lebanon can return to their homes. So that's in the immediate what's at stake, as well as I think the larger ramifications
all this out.
Of getting an agreement, including what I believe can be very positive effects on also ending the conflict in Gaza. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Yikes.
All right, so that was Secretary of State Antony Blinken speaking about that potential ceasefire. And again, we are expected to hear from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in just about 30 minutes or so here. I did want to take you out to this live look right now as dozens of Israelis have gathered outside Israel's military headquarters in central Tel Aviv to demonstrate against this expected ceasefire. And on top of this, there have been Israeli airstrikes that have escalated in Beirut and the southern suburbs as Israel's leadership was deciding whether to accept a U.S. brokered ceasefire with Hezbollah that would end more than a year of fighting in Lebanon. We will keep an eye on all of this for you as we do here on Live Now.
Yeah, they got the numbers wrong.
All the latest developments. We are going to go away for a quick 2-minute break right now. We do have more live events set to start on the other side. You're watching Live Now from Fox. Stay with us.
All right, we'll go through it.
Before the break, as dozens of Israelis have gathered outside Israel's military headquarters in central Tel Aviv. They're demonstrating against this expected ceasefire. Again, we are going to hear from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, set to speak here in hopefully 30 minutes here at 1 p.m.
These are people that want the war to continue, essentially. I mean, obviously. I mean, for people that didn't pick it up.
East Coast, hopefully going to have an update on that ceasefire deal as they are voting on it as we speak. Did also want to take you out to Denver Airport right now in Colorado. Look how busy it is ahead of Thanksgiving travel.
Everyone getting the fuck out.
Some people, record numbers set to be traveling this year on the road and also in the air. Did also want to give you a look here. This is going to be the...
Yeah, our friends from California actually just came in last night at like 11 o'clock at night. My parents drove all the way down to Birmingham, picked them up, got back at like 1 in the morning or whatever. And but yeah, we got some family here.
Pentagon press briefing set to start here momentarily. So as you can see, we've got a lot of live events set to come up here. And whichever one does come up first, we do bring to you here on Live Now from Fox. In the meantime, we do have this live presser going on right now. A little bit of background for you here. On August 24th, 28-year-old Ricardo Resendez was killed 1 block from his home by a deputy who was driving aggressively and recklessly.
We'll skip to the Senate.
miles per hour.
We'll skip over to the Pentagon or whatever is going on up here. Let's go check this out. I don't want to hear that. Let's move on.
Welcome back.
But right
to
after
Live
this,
Now from
they'll
Fox.
show
We
it.
are giving you a live look right now as dozens of Israelis have gathered outside Israel's military headquarters in central Tel Aviv, demonstrating against this.
And now we're caught up.
Ceasefire.
We're only 4 minutes behind. We're only 4 minutes behind.
Again,
this is live now.
Set to hear just in about 10 minutes or so, if it's on time, from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, hopefully going to get an update on this
Big news day.
talks. In the meantime, I did want to pivot to a live event that's happening right now that is related to all of this, and we're going to put that up for you there. This is related to the European Parliament as they're hosting a session on.
No, I thought it was okay. Never mind.
Quote, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and the West Bank, UNRWA's essential role in the region, and need to release all the hostages. Let's turn up the sound here and listen in.
Damn, there's a lot of live shit going on right now.
Шенгенското пространство с техните сухопътни граници. Благодаря на унгарското председателство за положените усилия. Благодаря и на вас, госпожо.
Land borders. I would like to thank you, Mrs. Johansson, for your support. It makes sense for this parliament, perhaps for the last time, to reconfirm its approval and provide additional arguments to finalize the process. Bulgaria and Romania have.
Can't they ever just get where just a normal voice that can speak English? Come on, man.
At all the requirements and are capable of exercising border control is not news. That it has been in this procedure for quite a while and is ready to complete it is also no news. That joining Schengen will mean also cutting the cost of transport and improving competitiveness of the European business is also a valid consideration. And so on, this soap opera that has taken too long will finally have its end on the stage.
Thank
you very much. On behalf of
totally, just the crowd is going wild. Woo! Yeah. Meanwhile, there's like 3 people in the crowd.
the Patriots, Mr. Legeri.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Thank you, President. Bulgaria and Romania are about to accede entirely to Schengen, allowing free circulation. External borders won't be ready if Brussels carries on fleeing. The Commission, including Ms. Johansson, needs to reinforce borders between Greece and Turkey, and they need to finance walls. We need to make sure that
because it is televised,
illegal migration stops. Our nations are at danger. NGOs are causing chaos. We need to pay the right salaries for border control guards. Frontex needs to protect Europe and no longer protect NGOs. Stopping future flows of migration through the east of Europe. We need to make sure that Europe defends its frontiers or it will disappear. Thank you.
Merci, Claude. Thank you very much, Claudio Tausio, for the ECR group.
Who's the BCR group?
Dear colleagues, Romania has met all the conditions to fully accede to Schengen since many years ago. This is a truth that nobody can challenge. However, we have been kept in a
Is this Google Translate?
Humiliating wait at the door of the Schengen area without too many explanations. At the end of the day, after negotiations, postponements, and concessions, very serious concessions that Romania has made, we have been.
Well, maybe she is real.
We have received the recognition of our right only partially. In this period, Romania's economy and dignity have been poorly damaged. a number of European member states are still blocking the acceptance of my country to the Schengen area. It is unacceptable for land border controls to be extended for another few months. Romania deserves to accede to Schengen, and I am here today because I ask for your support for this objective to become a reality right now. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
I'm glad that they're not prattling on and on and on and on and on and on. You know what I mean? I'm glad that they're at least wrapping it up fairly quick.
The next speaker is Fabien Keller.
Pour le groupe Renew.
For the Renew Group.
President, Madam Commissioner, Ylva Johansson. This constitutes a victory for Bulgarian and Romanian citizens, of course, because they soon will benefit from free circulation.
Of course, France is going to have enough money to be able to pay for a translator themselves, you know.
Untrammeled within the European Union. After so many years of applying themselves, the Romanians and Bulgarians have done what was necessary and provided the guarantees in terms of security for the external borders. It's a victory as well, ladies and gentlemen, for the European project. A Schengen area which is being bolstered is an area that's growing many decades after its creation.
Pentagon's getting ready over here, coming up. So not only are we going to see this, then we're going to see the Pentagon press briefing. Hopefully this is going to be quick. And then Netanyahu addresses the world, essentially.
This area of free movement of people, workers, and capital will help our continent to prosper.
Again, we are just listening in as the European Parliament is speaking on Gaza and hostage release. And you can see in that bottom right-hand corner of your screen, Israelis are protesting against this expected ceasefire deal. That's happening live in Tel Aviv right now. Let's go away for our final 2-minute break of the hour. We'll be right back.
Hell no, we get to skip the last one.
Fundamental right in the EU. It causes serious security problems for the migrant.
France is still prattling on with a different person.
Routes. And it's in the
And she's doing fantastic, by the way. She's doing fantastic. She's growing already a little bit. It's strange to watch. I mean, I got her when she was like 4 or 5 weeks, you know, and it's only been, what, 2 weeks? Yeah, crazy. But yeah, she's doing great. She took all of her meds, all of her medications are all done. She's caught up with everything. Flea medication, the like deworming or whatever that you get. I think you put them on once a month. Yeah, it's a once a month thing. But then her eyes were all fucked up, so we had to get the cream and stuff like that, the ointment or whatever, to be able to kill all of that bacteria that was around her eyes. But she's doing fantastic, dude. She eats like a champ.
And as a result of these checks at the border, 10 migrants have lost their lives recently. This is where the credibility and the future of the European Union are at stake. Thank you. Thank you very much. The next speaker is Mary Khan on behalf of the ESN Group.
Thank you, colleagues. Last week I was in
France
Sofia
again?
with our Bulgarian friends.
Or this is in France. Oh, this is live in France. I understand.
It's a party that is on the up and is getting support from citizens because...
Yeah, at first it didn't make sense to me, but now it does. But who was out then when I assumed it was actually France speaking? I don't know. All these different countries.
All of Europe is on the up in terms of patriotism. Mass migration is not friendly for Europe. For the last 10 years, it has meant that security...
Facts, by the way, Papa. Why would he? Why would he?
...is jeopardized and the spirit of Schengen is being destroyed in Europe.
Shit, if I got an arrest warrant in any state, theoretically, I would never go back to that state, right? You know what I mean? Like, until that shit clears or whatever the fuck, I'm just saying, no need for me to go back there, right? I'd say that to be the same thing with Netanyahu. Like, why would you step anywhere to where the 133 countries or however many agreed that they would arrest him, why would he ever go to them? You know?
Of course, we would like to see an ideal world, a strong, functioning Schengen area. Lots of good ideas have been ruined by left-wing green policy. The external borders aren't safe, so it's irresponsible to get rid of internal borders. You're getting rid of 1,900 kilometers of border controls, and you're opening the door to more illegal migration towards Germany. Schengen wasn't set up in order for illegal migration to come in. This is what people want. People want security in Europe, but this is opening the door to people smugglers. That isn't European. That is bad for all of us.
I was just about to say, maybe some people don't actually know how to spell Netanyahu, Papa. Maybe what it is that our iPhones know how to spell it. You know?
Our Bulgarian partners see this as well. They don't want uncontrolled, unfettered migration. And if Bulgaria is part of Schengen, the route will be more attractive for economic migrants.
Merci, Siegfried. Thank you very much. The next speaker is Siegfried Mureșan.
Domnule președinte, stimați colegi, la finalul lunii martie a acestui an, România și Bulgaria au aderat la spațiul Schengen cu frontiera aeriană.
Thank you very much.
Damn.
We have joined the borderless Europe and Schengen already for the air and sea borders. And we saw that this was something that was very useful because the Romanian Bulgarian authorities cooperated with all the other authorities in other countries in the EU to counter illegal migration, to protect the borders of the EU. And the Schengen area is stronger with Bulgaria.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know the answer to that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Romania at its heart. Following this positive development, Romania and Bulgaria, for many years, have actually met the criteria to join the Schengen area, a decision which will finally be completed soon for land borders. For the entrepreneurs of our countries, this will be beneficial for the whole of the EU.
Are you taking off right now, SNS?
That we're sending to the extremists and populists in the EU. We are European Union. We are united.
I see where you're
We're just waiting for this to be implemented.
Je ne vois pas Dan.
Thank you very much. I don't see Dan Nika. I'll now give the floor to Andres.
Oh, shit. Blair just confirmed that whole thing with Charles. 100% and non-elected. They're all appointed.
Laszlo.
A magyar EU elnökség egy történelmi megállapodás küszöbén áll.
The Hungarian presidency marks a turning point. From the 1st of January, Romania and Bulgaria will be joining the Schengen zone. The Hungarian presidency has struggled to ensure that this will happen. The integration of these two countries is important for two main reasons. First of all, the citizens of these two countries, to date, have not been able to benefit from freedom of movement. Secondly, we will need to ensure there is an international police contingent, which is the right solution for migration. It's not a question of closing internal borders or setting migrant quotas. The future of migration policy is not the question of punishing member states, but rather we should jointly protect the external border so that everyone within Europe can benefit from freedom of movement. Thank you very much. Ivailo Valchev.
Thank you. Уважаеми колеги, за нас очакваното приемане на България.
Ladies and gentlemen, for us, the upcoming accession of Bulgaria and Romania to the Schengen area is a positive development.
I don't care about your guys' ordeal.
Positive, but far too late. Too much time has been wasted since Bulgaria and Romania completed or complied with the criteria, but were excluded for political reasons.
I thought we're talking about
This
Gaza.
lost, wasted time has paved the way to enhanced Euroscepticism in those two countries, as the results of the election in Romania showed clearly last week. Anti-European groups have taken succor from this. So
we're listening here to the
shut that motherfucker off.
European meeting regarding the situation on Gaza. Of course, that crisis, the humanitarian crisis that has been going on since October 7th. With
What he's doing, he's just talking about his own issues.
so many of these nations continuing to call on the release of the remaining hostages. Thank you all for joining us on this Tuesday here at Live Now from Fox, November 26th. I'm your host, Carla Hara. Well, here we do prioritize live events, and we are seeing that over at the Pentagon. We are getting the Pentagon briefing at this time. So let's go ahead and dip into
Here
that
goes the Pentagon.
next.
Oh, shit. Finally.
Al Udeid Air Base Cutter.
Yeah, that's
delivering
facts,
care to
Papa.
U.S. service members in the U.S. Central Command AOR and the U.S. Space Force's 4th Space Operations Squadron at Schriever Space Force Base in Colorado, which operates the Space Force's protected military satellite communication system. A readout of the calls will be made available on defense.gov. And on that note, on behalf of Secretary Austin and the entire Department of Defense, I want to wish everyone a safe, restful, and happy Thanksgiving holiday. And with that, I will thankfully take your questions. We'll start with AP.
Thanks, General Ryder. Jordan announced today that it's restarted airdrops in northern Gaza to send food. Is the U.S. going to also start airdrops given how unsuccessful the ground routes have been?
I don't have any announcements to make, Tara, in terms of any U.S. airdrops. Of course, the U.S. government writ large continues to remain focused on ensuring and enabling the conditions for humanitarian assistance into Gaza. Of course, this is something that USAID has been very focused on, as well as Secretary Austin in his conversations with his Israeli counterparts. But when and if we have any updates, of course, we'll let you know.
But given all of those conversations, has any progress been made in getting additional land routes open or getting assistance with all the looting that's been going on?
As I understand it, and as we previously discussed, there has been an increase by the Israelis in terms of enabling aid. Obviously, much more needs to be done. This has been a topic, again, of discussion to include security for those aid convoys that are going into Gaza. So we'll continue for our part here at the DoD to have those conversations with our Israeli counterparts. Natasha.
Thanks, Pat. The White House confirmed yesterday.
What's up, brother Ping? Hopefully you're doing good too, man.
ATACMS systems inside Kursk. And so I'm wondering if there's any more information you could provide about what they're targeting, how successful those strikes have been. And then separately on the potential ceasefire deal between Israel and Lebanon, what role, if any, is the U.S. military going to have in enforcing that?
Yeah, on ATACMS, as the White House highlighted yesterday, there has been a shift in policy, and that the Ukrainians may employ ATACMS in defense of their nation, focused right now, of course, on the Kursk region. I'll let the Ukrainians speak to their operations in terms of their targeting and their operations. I just won't get ahead of them on that. As far as the ceasefire goes, we're, of course, strongly supportive of a ceasefire. We're consulting closely with our interagency partners in terms of what potential contributions the DoD can make. I don't have anything to announce from here, but we'll certainly keep you updated. Jen.
General Ryder, there's been a number of incidents in England with drones targeting U.S. bases, kind of swarming U.S. bases, challenging security. Do you believe they have hostile intent? Do you believe they were sent by a foreign adversary? What is happening what can you tell us about these drones?
What I would tell you, Jennifer, is that they are being actively monitored. Installation leaders have determined so far that none of these incursions impact the base residents, the facilities, or the assets that we have on those bases. We're, of course, continuing to work with host nation authorities and our mission partners to ensure the safety of our personnel, our facilities, and the equipment. The bottom line is it's something that we're going to take seriously. We're continuing to look into it, but as of right now has not had any significant mission impact.
Why not shoot them down?
Well, I won't get into force protection measures. We, of course, always maintain the right to defend ourselves if we deem something to be a threat. But again, we'll continue to work with the local host nation authorities there.
Do you think it's linked to the drones that were sighted, or 3 or 4 different locations back in December of last year that we reported on recently?
Yeah, I don't want to speculate and draw unnecessary connections. Again, this is something that we'll look into. As you know, small UASs, drones, have become something that's, relatively common now across the landscape. It's something that the department has been looking closely at in terms of how it applies to our facilities, our personnel, whether it's in combat zones or outside of combat zones. But in terms of these particular incidents in the UK versus the ones in the States, again, I don't want to speculate that there's any connection.
They don't appear to be those of hobbyists. Is that correct?
Again, it would be, premature to draw any conclusions. We've got to see what these are. I mean, it's entirely possible that it could be hobbyists or something else. We just got to look into it. So come over here. Yes, sir.
Thank you, General. My question will be about ICC's arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and his previous Defense Minister, Mr. Gallant. So far, most of the European countries have accepted the decision. Despite that, you are rejecting it. Under these circumstances, do you think that this will create a duality between NATO members in this specific and sensitive issue?
No. All right.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, General. I have a couple of questions about Russia, Ukraine, and North Korea. According to the Ukraine Defense Intelligence, North Korea has provided Russia with KN-23, KN-24, and about 100 short-range ballistic missiles. And Russia is expanding its ballistic missile manufacturing plant in North Korea. North Korea and Russia are providing full-scale weapons and technical support. What are your concerns about it?
Well, Jeannie, I mean, we've talked about this in the past. We're, of course, concerned about the developing relationship between North Korea and Russia, as evidenced by the fact that they've deployed, upwards of 12,000.
Right, so we're listening here to the Pentagon press briefing.
12,000 troops, he said.
Major General Pat Ryder, but we do want to pivot to the breaking news that we have continued to follow as we look to see what's going to happen within these conflicts in the Middle East. Right now, we are getting a live picture of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, hopefully with an update.
Definitely takes precedence.
Let's watch.
Yeah.
Good
call.
I'm proud of you. You're being able to withstand everything. And I'm absolutely committed to your security, to rebuild your settlements, your towns and villages, and your security. Up to now, thanks to the IDF and the security apparatus in Israel, we were able to achieve tremendous achievements in the 7 fronts. The whole world is amazed by it. And they show that Israel is powerful. In the Middle East, in Iran especially, we destroyed a very big part of the air defense. Their production of missiles in Iran, and a significant and an important factor in their nuclear facilities. I will do everything necessary in order to prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons. This is in front of my eyes at all times, and all the more so today when we hear the repeated declarations of the Iran leaders about their wanting to have nuclear weapons. For me, removing this threat is the most important goal in order to assure the survival of Israel. In Gaza, we destroyed about 20,000 terrorists. We killed, Def, Sinwar, and many of their senior leaders, and brought many of our hostages. The 101 hostages still there in Gaza. We are committed to bring them, and also to alleviate the horrific how their families are going through, and to destroy Hamas. In Judea and Samaria, we are destroying hundreds of terrorists. We're destroying terrorist infrastructures, and there's no place which we do not reach. In Yemen, we attacked powerfully the Houthis.
When he's speaking to the world, he takes all credit. You know, on like the money front and equipment front. Yeah.
Which the international coalition has not done. In Iraq, we stopped successfully many. We still have challenges, but we have done a great deal. In Syria, methodically, we're destroying the power of the Hezbollah and Assad. He has to understand he's playing with fire here in the 7th, and now the 7th front in Lebanon. Hezbollah decided to attack us on the 8th of October. A year has passed. It's not the same Hezbollah as back then. We brought it back decades back. This is the axis of the axis. We killed all the seniors of the organization, most of the missiles, thousands of terrorists, and their underground terrorist infrastructure that over years they built, we destroyed. We attacked strategic targets in all of Israel, in Lebanon, and in Dahya, the area in Beirut. We've destroyed a great deal of their infrastructure. 3 months ago only, all this would have sounded science fiction, but it's not science fiction. We did that. We performed it. And I want to tell you, at any given moment in conducting this campaign, I look at all the fronts at the same time. That's how I decided. At first, I wanted to focus on Gaza and not to open another front. That's how I acted several months ago, when things have started cooking up in the north, and then I attacked in Hezbollah, and that's how I act about the missiles in Iran. We very particularly chosen when we'll attack, how we will attack in Iran, and that's how I act today as well. I look at all the fronts at the same parallel fashion and see the full picture, and to our heroic soldiers, I have to give them all the means to save their lives, to protect their lives, and to bring us victory at the same time. And therefore, citizens of Israel, this evening I will bring before the cabinet a ceasefire plan. How long it will be will depend on what will happen in Lebanon. With a full understanding with the U.S., we are reserving for ourselves full military action. If Hezbollah doesn't follow the agreement, we'll attack.
Of course.
If we're going to try to build up terrorist structures near, or if it'll bring a truck with missiles, we'll attack. Yes, I hear the claim that if we go to I know the claim that we'll not be able to go back if we start to ceasefire. That's what I was told, exactly what I was told when we did the ceasefire in Gaza in order to bring back hostages. They said we're not going to go back to the fight. We returned, and how we returned, and big time we came back. They tell me now, Hezbollah will be quiet for a year or two. It will get stronger, and then it will attack us again. Hezbollah, but it will avoid the ceasefire not only by shooting at us, merely by trying to arm themselves. Each one of their violation will attack with force. I know that there are those who don't believe that we will do so, but many do not believe that we're going to go into.
It's coming from an Israeli right here, or it lives in Israel. I mean,
Gaza Strip by land, and we did so. They didn't believe we're going to Shifra and Khan Yunis, and we did. They didn't believe that under the tremendous international pressure, we would get into Rafah. We did. Not only got in, we attacked, and how we attacked. There were many who didn't believe we were going to attack in Lebanon. And here, there too, we attacked. We attacked with...
He needed to calm his nerves down, Charles. Come on.
wisely and with power that surprised the whole world. And so after all of this, maybe it's time to begin to believe in how resolved we are in our method, our commitment to victory. So why have a ceasefire now? 3 main reasons for it. 1, focusing on the Iranian threat. And I'm not going to go into and expand on that. 2, refreshing our forces and getting armaments. I'm not going to hide it from you. There were many delays in getting armaments and weapons, and this is going to soon. This is going to open up. We will have the armaments. We'll save our soldiers' lives, and will give us additional force to complete our task. And 3rd reason for the ceasefire: separating Hamas and this front. From the first day of the war, Hamas planned from the beginning that Hezbollah will be at its side. But when Hezbollah is not in the picture, Hamas will be alone, and this will aid us in our sacred goal to release our hostages. Citizens of Israel, in the last year, we changed things 180 degrees. We have returned fire big time. We are changing the face of the Middle East. All of this we're doing thanks to our heroic soldiers and your heroic withstanding everything, and also the forceful and wise way in which the wars be conducted. I said many times, a good deal is a deal agreement that one enforces, and we will enforce it. God willing, we will have security. We will have the North flower, and we'll continue together until there is victory.
Damn. Boom.
All right, so we were just listening there to that live briefing that we got from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and this comes as we are continuing to monitor this situation out there in the Middle East. I do want to bring a live picture out of Beirut in Lebanon. As I kind of recap one of the big breaking stories that we continue to follow. This is courtesy of the reporting at the Associated Press, where they say that Israeli warplanes struck central Beirut and the city's southern suburbs on Tuesday, raising smoke over the Lebanese capital ahead of a planned vote for Israel's leadership on whether to accept a U.S. brokered ceasefire aimed at ending more than a year of fighting with Hezbollah militants. The Israeli military issuing warnings for 20 more buildings in Beirut's suburbs to evacuate before they were struck. Now, we're going to take a quick commercial break here at Live Now from Fox as we are going to digest some of the information that we got from that press conference just provided to us by the Israeli Prime Minister. Stick with us. We do have our experts on hand to...
Nope, don't care about your guys' experts. I care about what happened, and that's what I wanted to hear. Don't care about what experts have to say at this point. I like getting the source of what is being said or done around the world, and hence why we have this channel right here, man. Thank you guys for making this shit happen. Thank you guys to the Breakfast Club that make this shit happen, man. It's without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do any of this. So I'm very, very honored to be able to, where we have a two-way conversation with the reporter, with the people that are actually in the shit every day. So, listen, man, I always appreciate you guys. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, wherever the hell time it is where you're from right now. Much love, honor, and respect, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow morning for more of the action, 10 a.m. CST. As always, man, we are the most reliable source on the internet, man. Much love, honor, and respect to everybody. Hopefully you guys all have a good one. Peace.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges, a host with a fire burning.